always lit over at AJsRANTroom.com. We got the best bags and accessories, our beloved Black Series. We got fresh lids for you hat lovers, fire jackets and hoodies, and of course we got you covered on the t-shirts. And introducing our first shoe line, Aloysius Germain. So get on over to AJsRANTroom.com today and get to shopping. You won't be disappointed. And I stop thinking about the way you been, and I stop thinking about a little Tony Braxton for y'all to start the day. Happy Monday, everybody. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all see me? Can y'all hear me? Can y'all see me? Welcome in. Welcome in. Hope all is well. Welcome to the party. Can y'all hear me and see me? Just want to make sure, I know we be having some issues sometimes. I'm gonna do this check-in every stream until we have a whole team of people who will be yelling and screaming. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all see me? We good. Visuals good. The audio's good. We all right? We all right? Y'all all right? All right, cool. Boom. Thank you, Amy. All right, we good. We in the groove. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Hope the weekend was fun, fresh, and sexy. All things considered. We got a few things to cover today. Yes, we had a few things to cover today. So let's get started. Who is this? I didn't know who she was until this morning. Her name is Monica Cannon Grant. And she was head of a nonprofit called Defund Violence in Boston. And she's expected to plead guilty today to fraud. Apparently she and her husband were indicted in 2022. Didn't know this. Didn't know anything about this, until this morning when it was brought to my attention. Shout out to Prince who sent it. And I was like, what? I was like, I don't know anything about this. How did I miss this? But she was clearly a BLM activist and one of those people out there stomping the yard. Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. Blah, blah. Meanwhile, it was all of benefit you, your lifestyle, your people, which is pretty much what happened to BLM anyway. All right, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Okay. I mean, you can feel however you want to feel, but you got to present the proof. We do have a clip. It's a short clip, but we have a clip.
Boston community activist who faces federal fraud charges is asking a judge to schedule a change of plea hearing. Monica Cannon Grant and her husband Clark Grant founded the nonprofit called Violence in Boston. It had the mission to reduce violence and raise social awareness in Boston. Well, they're accused of defrauding the nonprofit and its donors.
Jeez. Wow. I don't know why NBC News still considers her an activist, because at this point, are you really an activist if you were stealing the money? But Monica Cannon Grant, the activist and founder of now defunct nonprofit Violence in Boston, is expected to plead guilty to fraud charges. Cannon Grant requested a change of plea hearing on Friday. She was set to stand trial next month and had initially pled not guilty back in 2022. Cannon Grant and her husband Clark Grant were indicted back in March 2022 on fraud charges. She's accused of taking money given to violence in Boston, which was based in Hyde Park, and spending it on herself. Prosecutors said between 2017 and 2021, Cannon Grant used donations and grant money to pay for things like hotel reservations, gas money, nail salons, groceries, restaurants, and personal travel. The couple was also accused of collecting $100,000 of pandemic unemployment assistance benefits despite receiving income from violence in Boston funds, consulting fees, and grant salary from a full time job. In 2023, they were indicted for additional fraud charges after federal prosecutors said she defrauded the city of Boston out of COVID-19 relief funds and rental assistance money. Federal prosecutors said they received $53,977 in COVID pandemic relief money and used the money to pay their auto loan and pay for their auto insurance bills. They also allegedly hid the household income to receive $12,600 in rental assistance from the city. Grant was killed in a motorcycle crash in Easton in March 2023. WBZ TV reached out to Cannon Grant. Reached out to Cannon Grant's attorney for additional comment, but did not hear back. Here's my question. Did BLM fulfill their mission? Did Black Lives Matter fulfill its mission? Because there must have been something that I'm missing, because I literally still to this day have people who will come in and make every excuse for Black Lives Matter. Oh, they brought attention to the. You realize there are stages to these types of organizations. Yes, you bring attention, you bring awareness to the problem, right? Then there should be a set of action steps, right? Right. And then those set of action steps should then all of this is prompting you to move towards helping solve or curb the problem you claim is happening, right? In this case, I believe Black Lives Matter was about police brutality, all of that stuff, right? The same thing with what was his name? Kaepernick, Colin Kaepernick. So if your goal is to bring awareness to police brutality, then the next step should be the action steps to actually solving it, right? To actually, what do you do to build police community relationships? What do you do to so people understand their rights and police officers are more compassionate, or whatever you want them to be at these traffic stops or whatever, or what you whatever it is. This is not my mission, so I don't care enough. But if that's your mission, and the mission is to curb violence in Boston in this case, and you're literally taking hundreds of thousands of dollars and you're just using it like it's your personal, like you earn this money and you're like, this is your personal salary. What is wrong with y'all, bro? And then y'all will sit here and call me I'm the problem. And we will definitely unpack this tonight on the RANT Experience, because I got a lot to say regarding the whole Charlie Kirk in the church and black community and these idiots out here celebrating and misquoting and taking things out of context. And again, we'll talk about that tonight. But this right here is emblematic of what BLM did with the money. Candace Owens did a whole documentary on this. Granted, it wasn't a perfect documentary. There was a lot of things that could have been followed up on and substantiated even more, or she could have dove into other things a little deeper. But if you looked, basically in a nutshell, a lot of shell companies built around the trans and LGBT movement benefited from Black Lives Matter. So it was never about Black lives. It was never about building police community relations. It was never about making the Black community stronger, better, more united. Even look at the 3 Marxist lesbians that were in charge of it. The moment someone says that they are Marxist and they're lesbians, that right there tells you that one, this isn't organically black, and two, this is a grift. That is the first two things that should come to mind, right? This isn't black people who created this. They are clearly puppets. Those three women were puppets in a greater thing, right? And then if you follow the money, where all the money came from, and how these three fat black Marxist lesbians all of a sudden became these proud activists who ended up millionaires and living in mostly white communities. They don't live in the neighborhoods that you live in. They live up in the hills. Remember, Candace Owens went to the house. She went to Patrice Cullors' house. Malcolm X didn't have a house. His house got firebombed. That's a real activist. A real activist ain't living high on the hog. And nobody's saying you shouldn't make money and you can't live well. But it's one thing to live well. It's another to live lavishly. It's another to live this out of reach lifestyle and then claim that you love the black community while you live in a community that's well protected, safe. You can go outside, don't have to worry about bullets flying past your head. You can bring a television into your house and hope that and not have to worry that a crackhead is going to break in after you go to work and go steal your television, your new television or whatever. You don't have to worry about that type of stuff when you live in those neighborhoods. But no, oh no, it's the problem. Yeah, I'm the problem. Yeah, I'm the problem. Yeah, okay. AJ's the problem for calling it out, and y'all will make every excuse for these people because of the color of their skin. Stop idolizing the color of your skin. It's a tired argument at this point. It's tired. It's pointless. It's the lowest IQ, it's the most reductive argument you could have. And empathizing and sympathizing with people simply based on skin color is why y'all are in the predicaments y'all are in. Skin color don't mean a damn thing. Good and bad means everything to me. You're either a good person or you're a bad person. Or you're just somebody I just don't care for. Doesn't mean you're bad. I just don't care for you. And that's where it should matter, right? Not, yeah, you're black, so therefore I trust you. And no men, no real black men are going to say, yeah, let these three lesbians lead me to glory. No real black man gonna do that. No. First of all, you're participating in a lifestyle that does not produce fruit for the community. That's the first order of business. And that right there should have been your hint or two as to where the money was going to end up. Yeah, the money ended up with the LGBT and the trans people. That's where it ended up. It didn't end up in the community. Name one thing that manifested in the black community from Black Lives Matter. And I'll shut up. Name one thing. I'm not even asking y'all to give me a list. Name one thing that manifested in the black community from Black Lives Matter. And you could say, yeah, the chapter ended up there. But what? Okay, you got a chapter in the community. What did that chapter actually do for the community? Did they secure funding, or do you have tree-lined streets? I mean, what did you get out of it? You got nothing. You've been had, you've been took, you got swindled, bamboozled. $90 million in 1 year, and then they vanished. $90 million, and then the organization vanished. Poof, gone. Like it almost like it never happened. They were so irrelevant in the 2024 election. Irrelevant. Interesting how that happens, right? You raise $90 million, which literally $90 million could have solved a lot of problems in the black community. A lot in terms of just foundationally with education, right, with rearing of kids, with making sure kids stay busy, right, with mental health, all of that stuff. So I don't hear nothing about me. I don't hear nothing about black conservatives. I don't hear nothing about black independents, black libertarians. I don't hear nothing about none of us. We weren't throwing cash at this. Y'all were. Y'all were throwing cash and rioting and protesting and yelling and screaming and losing your voices and acting like crazy people around nothing. Around absolutely nothing. To protect a crackhead who made a bunch of bad life choices that put him in a predicament where he got his life terminated. Ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm never standing up for that. Anyway, Black Lives Matter. So Moving on. Oh wait, hold on. Yes, AJ, better schools. Yes. Yep. Where are these after school programs? Where are the literacy courses? Where's the education reform? Y'all could have used some of that 90 million and really infiltrated the teachers unions who are basically screwing us. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Mhm. No, 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 no. So yeah, you got nothing out of it. They got everything. You got nothing. Didn't even one of them write a book and went on a book tour? Did the money go to the movement? No, it went to her. Went to her. She got probably a multi-million-dollar publishing deal. Was able to do a book tour, successful book tour. I don't know if the book was a bestseller, but it probably did something. And so yeah, I'm done. That's my TED talk. Moving on. So of course, Charlie Kirk and all the fiasco and all of the drama is still going on. It's been a very eventful weekend. The first order of business is that Charlie's actual memorial will be September 21st at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. If you want to register for tickets, you can go to fightforcharlie.com and have a good time. I don't like crowds, so I won't be there, and I'm good. But I'll watch the live stream with the other several people. But it was great to see more good than bad come out of this, and seeing people turning their life over to God, seeing people going to church for the first time, seeing people in foreign countries literally come out in droves in reaction to this man getting assassinated. I didn't know Charlie Kirk had that kind of reach. To be honest with you, I didn't know it was that serious. But to see people come out and say, "Hey, that's not how you solve political issues." But like Tulsi Gabbard said in her speech last night at Charlie's vigil, these people don't have that. They don't have the capacity to do that. They don't. They can't push back with actual arguments that could pick apart and tear down what you're saying. So their answer is violence. Their answer is racism. Their answer is extremism. And so there you have it. But again, September 21st, State Farm Stadium, and fightforcharlie.com if you would like to register to get tickets. I know it's going to be packed out, probably going to be massive overflow. Every major, especially Republican politician, I'm sure is going to be there from Trump all the way down. And so it's going to be a very secure area. The perimeter is going to be crazy. And they're going to pay tribute to Charlie, and prayers for his family, prayers for his children, prayers for his wife as well. This is still an unfortunate situation, but um so to the assassin, the killer, or whatever, um it's been corroborated. Well, first of all, he's not cooperating. He's not talking to the people, which is fine. That's his right. You have the constitutional right to shut up. And so he's not talking. He's not cooperating. So, but his family and his friends and apparently his alleged trans lover is cooperating. And the left is in denial, of course, and tried to pin this man as some sort of radical Trump supporter, which there's no such thing as a radical Trump supporter. Um, and why would a radical Trump supporter kill a Trump supporter? You people just don't think. But in digging into his background, and the FBI and Cash Patel spoke on this morning, it's been corroborated by several witnesses, including his own friends and family, that he was in fact in a relationship with a transgender person. It's also been corroborated by people in his life that the killer was came from a Republican family. It was once a Trump supporter himself, but his ideology radically changed upon registering in college. So there you have it. If you don't believe at this point that colleges are indoctrination camps, there's your proof right there. And it's one thing to change, like, ideologically or socially or whatever it is. It's fine to be inspired by things. The problem is when you go extreme with it, right? when you decide, okay, now I'm going to go from, okay, I'm cool, I'm rather relatively moderate, whatever, I'm just an average conservative, to I'm going to go full blown leftist and lose my mind, literally. And the left in its typical form has no idea what accountability is. So there you have it with that. But again, when do these people ever take accountability, right? They never do. Um, and as I've said 2 trillion, billion, 5 kabillion times, I don't give a damn about somebody's background when you do something like this. I don't care. He could have been a Trump loving, full blooded, American flag wearing. I don't care. All of that's irrelevant at this point, you know? All of that's irrelevant at this point. And tonight on the RANT Experience, during our uncomfortable conversation, I will unpack a lot of the truly evil things that was said this weekend from the pulpit, from these pastors, and who are just really activists in the pulpit. They're not really pastors, because they're not teaching the word. They're not leading their people to Christ. They're leading their people into more activism and rage and emotionalism and all types of crazy stuff. And so I will unpack that. I will also unpack who's really harming the Black community and poor communities and the middle class. I will unpack that as well in our uncomfortable conversation, because there's a lot of things that people eh, take for granted or think that is, what's the word I'm looking for, that they think it's one thing but not another. I don't know the word for that, but when you think something, because I growing up in New York, this is often the case, and I'm very observant. I'm a very observant person, so I'm like, okay, if these are the people that hate me and they're not for me and they're against me, then they're not here though. They're not here. So I don't get it. And then we'll unpack the other stupid stuff, with regard to these people, and then I'll show you who's really harming the people. I'll show you them. I'll show you their faces. I'll unpack why and how, and we're gonna have a great time in our uncomfortable conversation tonight. So tune in to the RAN Experience tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on this channel. So we'll be back at 8 p.m. tonight, and we'll unpack all of that for you. So roll on through. Actually, the prompt is up right now, so you can just go turn on the notification for it, so you'll get an email when the show starts tonight, when the podcast starts tonight. Anyway, also there's a RANT Experience playlist. You can click on that, and you can subscribe to that, and then you can get notified when that playlist in particular gets updated. So appreciate y'all on that, and hopefully tonight you'll join me. The actual name of the podcast tonight is called "In a World Full of Retarded People, Be Charlie Kirk." So that's the name of the show tonight, and hopefully you'll join me for that. But on another note, so Kash Patel was on Fox News this morning, and there were a couple of things that he addressed that I thought was a little interesting, and we'll see how it lands in this moment. But this is the first one. It was allegedly a note. Um, Lumberjack, you stupid. Um, Jamal Bryan is a moron. I mean, we all know that. We already know this. We already know this. Um, I just don't understand. And then when you unpack that man's history, um, and shout out to Lumberjack for making a video yesterday on these code words and how that's indoctrination. I'd never even thought about that. I never even thought about how that's you're indoctrinating us to start talking like dummies, right? Grape, unaliving, schmurder. Oh man. Well, and we'll unpack Jamal tonight, but if you look at the history of that particular church, that church is buried in controversy, from the previous pastor, to the men who came forward and said that pastor did things to them, and how the church literally rallied around the pastor and not the victims, which is crazy. But anyway, I'm pretty sure some people left the church because of the controversy or whatever, and then that man denied it all the way to his death. And I there's no way you will never. Why? What? Anyway, we'll talk about that tonight. Anyway, so Cash Patel, we won't have no show tonight if I say everything now. So Cash Patel, so allegedly there was a note that the killer had wrote, and it was destroyed allegedly, but they have forensic evidence that it once existed. Take a look.
Written note, did he write a written note before the assassination attempt? That's what the governor said yesterday. And what did that say, if you could
So
share
what I'm
that
able
with
to
us?
say, I'm sorry. So what I'm able to say is I addressed it partially earlier, is that the written note, we believe, what did exist, and we have evidence to show what was in that note, which is, and I'm going to summarize, basically saying, the suspect wrote a note saying, I have the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it. That note was written before the shooting. Evidence of its existence, we now have learned, existed before the shooting, was in the location in the suspect and partner's home. But we have since learned that the note, even though it has been destroyed, we have found forensic evidence of the note, and we have confirmed what that note says because of our aggressive interview posture at the FBI.
There you have it. So allegedly there was a note, and where he already plotted to do this. And I'm listen, I know there are conspiracy theories out there about the surveillance footage, the stuff that was odd about the surveillance footage, him not having enough time to dismantle a gun and put it in his bag. And even if he dismantled the gun, you still would have seen parts of the gun sticking out of the bag. And listen, I don't know. 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 You know, listen, whatever the factors, it is what it is. He also said in this interview that the DNA profile of the handprint and on the gun and stuff, all of it matched him. So everything matched this person, the killer. And so the killer's going down. And it is what it is. But his also, remember, there was also the confusion with Candace Owens this weekend, and then Discord coming out saying allegedly to TMZ that there were no chats or whatever. But his Cash Patel on that.
Going back to the group chats real quick, there's more than 20 individuals, but this is a great point. I want to lay out how this works. People think we can just get in these group chats and immediately find out who's in them. We, the FBI, are the investigatory body supporting multiple prosecutions and ongoing investigations. And that's another point. Our investigation at the FBI is ongoing. And there are scores of people in this Discord chat room. But we have to effectuate legal process. We have to go out there with search warrants so that if prosecutors want to later use this evidence, it's not tainted by being illegally obtained. We, the FBI, are running the investigation pointedly on the Discord chat group. There are scores of individuals that are going to be spoken to. There are also lots of family members and friends that have already been spoken to. And one more point on forensics. We were able to obtain in record time the text message chain between the suspect and his live-in partner, as well as other critical cellular information from our CAS team that analyzes cell phone data towers in the area to pinpoint the locations of the suspect and other individuals he was speaking with. This is critical information that the FBI processed and got to prosecutors so they can lawfully use it in a court of law. And our investigation, our interviews continue, but we've learned some shocking things when we spoke to his family and friends as well.
I mean, this is very tedious work, and it's easy for us as civilians sitting out watching it from outside to say, "Oh, this don't look right. This is da, 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 da." But, like, do we expect this to be logical? I don't think it's going to be logical. I don't think it's going to be particularly what's the word? Seamless. And some things might not make sense, and I don't expect a lot of it to make sense. I mean, when you do something this radical, a lot of what led up to it is probably going to be irrational. Hold on. It says, hold on, we're connecting to your channels. Can you hear me? Can you see me? To activate chat, enable channels here. What? I don't know. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all see me? There's some message popped up, but I don't know. But the usual message when I'm disconnected didn't pop up, so I don't know if I'm still here. Am I still here, y'all? Let me know. Let me know. Ho ho ho. This is what happens when you go live to live, baby. Okay, cool. Thank you, Prince. All right, so we can hear me, we can see me. All right, cool. A lot is unfolding. A lot's going to unfold in the coming weeks. A lot of things are going to go down, and we will see where the chips fall. Oh, Restream is glitching since the new update. Okay, yeah, because I was like, that I've never seen the alert in the actual chat box before. First of all, we on Tanzania not catching no strays in here. Anyway, don't give Tanzania a bad name. Shout out to Tanzania. Anyway, so we will continue to listen to the authorities. Everything points back to homeboy. I'm not gonna play the conspiracy game. Whatever happens, someone needs to be brought to justice, and I don't know if Israel was involved and all of that other stuff. And we'll see what Candace Owens says later in her show today. I'm pretty sure she's going to unveil a lot. I'm pretty sure she has been working very diligently on whatever she's going to come up with today. I will listen. I will hear her out. We'll probably report on it tomorrow. And it is what it is. Another thing about that sort of links to tonight as well is getting back to Charlie Kirk. We're now off to Killer. We're back to Charlie. Is the racist stuff, and obviously the homophobic stuff, which none of this exists, right? What exists is people with hurt feelings, and when you literally have black folks, and then you have gay folks, some whom are black and some whom are Jewish, and some and other things that are not just Aryan. So, literally saying this is stupid, this makes no sense. But I do want to, and one of the things is, oh, he said the civil rights movement was, the Civil Rights Act was a bad thing, and blah 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 blah. Here's what Charlie actually said about the Civil Rights Act.
You said the Civil Rights Act was a mistake. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, so the parts of the Civil Rights Act were great, but the way it's now being implemented to force men in female bathrooms to push forward of the trans agenda, the intent of the Civil Rights Act is way beyond what it was originally authored for.
But the intent specifically originally was to...
Well, that's interesting. So the intent and the law are two different things. So the intent was noble, which was to say that no American can be not allowed into a place of business based on the color of their skin or their ethnic heritage. Totally agreement with that. Totally agreement with that. Totally agreement with that. That's not what the law only did. It created a massive anti-racist DEI army that then gave us affirmative action. For example, recently Merrick Garland sued using the Civil Rights Act, saying that we cannot have voter ID in certain states because it's a violation of the Civil Rights Act. So basically what the Civil Rights Act did is that it went beyond disparate impact and then went to disparate effect. In the sense where if black Americans are not doing as well as white Americans in a certain category, you can now use the Civil Rights Act and say that's a violation of the Civil Rights Act, even though there might be other contributing factors. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's too broad, too wide, and it's now doing a lot of damage to the country. It's being used well beyond its original intent.
You said the Civil Rights...
So this is what I say all the time about things like the Civil Rights Act, et cetera, affirmative action, et cetera, et cetera. What do you do when the country evolves? That was always that's always been my question. So once the country evolves, once people are no longer outraged by black and white people going to school together, eating together, whatever, being in relationships, once we're past the bulk of us not acting like crazy people, what's next? how does the Civil Rights Act and how does affirmative action and all of these things evolve with the country, right? And this thirst, black folks, a lot of y'all really think like y'all need the government to protect y'all from everything still in 2025. You don't need these really strict civil rights laws on the books for construction sites and anybody who gets federal monies. You look at any construction site, a lot of times the foreman is not even white. So what do you think is going to happen? They're going to push the colored foreman to the side and say, hey, you can no longer be in charge here. We're going to have all the white people come back, and you all will hire you if we're short on white men. Is that what we really think is going to happen in 2025? Really? Are we really there? This crutch on the government has to stop. This misinformation has to stop. One of the greatest things about social media is we're able to all interact, but social media has made us dumber. It's made us much more stupid. We don't read as much. We don't listen to comprehend. We just take a soundbite and we say, hey, that's what you said. That's what you said. Because it's literally what people are bitching about are from clips of things with greater context, things that have been explained, things that have been debunked, unpacked. And because you're not being massaged, it's not racism. Have you ever experienced racism? I mean, real racism. When you experience real racism, it is ugly. It does, at least for me, it does something like to, I don't know if it's psychological or just like, but it does something to you. Like you really feel it when it's real racism, you know. And so all of this, I'm gonna be passive. I'm gonna be passive. I'm gonna be passive. And microaggressions and all this stupid stuff. I'm not interested. I'm not interested because then when the real boys show up and the real racism is in your face, y'all are so desensitized to it at this point that you don't care, you know. And so we've got to get past that. We've really got to get past that. And I'm bored. We've become so dumb and so redundant in our arguments at this point. Even yesterday, I was listening to a live, and shout out to Unplugged. I was listening to his live yesterday, and of course, panel full of black women, and we're just like, can we talk about something else? And then, of course, I immediately attacked me, and then I said, monkey business. I'm trolling y'all at this point because I'm bored and I need to be entertained. And so, of course, immediately what happens? They get distracted. If you're that easily distracted, you're not good leaders. You're not good leaders. All I said was monkey business. I'm trolling. There goes one black. Oh, I'm unfollowing you. I didn't even know you were here. I don't care if you unfollow me. I'm not going to troll any less. I'm not going to not be myself because you unfollowed me. Oh my gosh, I may never recover from this. Thank you for proving my point as well. Also, I want to play this clip of Tulsi Gabbard. So last night there was a vigil for Charlie Kirk at the Kennedy Center, and I didn't see all of it, but I did hear Tulsi Gabbard's speech. I was her whole speech, and if you haven't watched it, go watch it. I think it was a great speech. But this part of her speech and a few others, but for the sake of time, I'll just play this one clip from her speech.
Those who are full of anger and hopelessness and hate right now, some of them protesting outside this hall today, unfortunately, they do not have the spiritual happiness that Charlie experienced. They're empty. And this is where their anger is coming from. It is their rejection of God, their desire to be God, and therefore they have made God their enemy.
Wow. Wow. That's a word. That's a word. I literally screamed, that's a word. That's it right there. And I even said this in another way, but I said the same thing. I was like, this is what happens when you idolize your race, your sexuality, your gender identity. When that stuff becomes your idol, yeah, everything else is the enemy. Any worldview that challenges that is now should be eradicated. And that's literally what it is. You know, you've made yourself the God. And so therefore anything else, that's got to go.
I have hope today that every one of us will do our best to shine the light of God's love in our lives and in our work, that we will treat each other with aloha, respect, and stand strong and unshakable in the defense of our God-given rights and freedoms.
And so this was the end of the speech, so she's about to wrap it up. But that was a great moment. She also broke down in the speech like aloha and like what it actually means. I thought it was just like a greeting, and apparently there's a deeper meaning to aloha. It's in the speech. I'll try to find a link to it and put it in the description. And so if you don't, go look for it yourself. But it's a great speech. I really, really recommend you go listen to the entire thing. And then one more thing is this whole dumb argument on who Charlie Kirk's successor should be. Hold on, this whole argument on who his successor should be. Charlie Kirk, there's no successor for Charlie Kirk, at least the one y'all are trying to mention. One name being thrown in the bucket is Nick Fuentes. Another is Ben Shapiro. Nick Fuentes is a no because, first of all, he's a radical. He's young. He's hot-headed. He is not going to listen. And quite frankly, the difference between him and a Charlie Kirk is humanity, is compassion, right? Charlie Kirk meant what he said and said what he meant, but he also had compassion for people. Nick Fuentes is just radical and rants and raves and just says the most salacious stuff. And no one's attracted to that. You know, when you're a grown person paying bills, there's just a certain palate that you're not going to tolerate, right? If you don't have to. So Nick Fuentes, and he doesn't have the leadership skills, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't have the work ethic. And so no one's going to listen to Nick Fuentes. He doesn't have the humility, you know. And then Charlie Kirk, you know, the big racist Charlie Kirk, he had the Black Leadership Summit, the Black Leadership Summit with Turning Point USA. Nick Fuentes could never do that because Nick Fuentes is a racist. A racist would never lead that and be able to articulate in the way Charlie did, right? He would never be able to do that. He would never be able to galvanize 400 young Black people and bring them to the White House. You know, he would never be able to do that. He doesn't have that skill set. Also, I don't know about that Christian stuff he claims he is. I don't know. Maybe he is a Christian. I don't know. Maybe he was the Ku Klux Klan Christian. You know, those people. They were Christians too, allegedly. So, but he ain't it. Then you have Ben Shapiro. The problem with Ben Shapiro, and I like Ben Shapiro's debate style. I respect that about him. I've taken some pointers from him on that, but other than that, he's not a Christian, so he's not going to lead people to Christ. So that's pretty much all of Turning Point. You're not going to be able to work. How do you work through that? You know, and he seems very devoted to Israel. And so when you're devoted to Israel and you won't accept any dissension to problematic behavior that Israel may or may not be exhibiting, then what are we doing? What are we doing here? Nothing. That's what we're doing here. We're doing nothing. And so when you have those factors, I don't think either one of these people will ever be able to pick up the mantle. Not to mention, oh yes, thank you, Pat, that there are conspiracies that there might be a ties with Israel and the assassin and Ben Shapiro, and I'm not getting involved in any of that, like I said, but it is what it is. You know, whether it is true or whether it's not, neither one of those choices will work. They're, especially Nick Fuentes, just too divisive of a figure. He's divisive, and if anybody you want to point out you want to point out extremism and actual racism, Nick Fuentes would be the person, not Charlie Kirk. But, again, social media has made us dumber and more emotional and more reactive and more confrontational on stuff that don't really matter, or stuff that we haven't even fully vetted before we started reacting to it. Anyway, with that said, we will be right back. Stephen A. Smith. Additionally, he went, he spazzed last week when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He made that very clear that was unacceptable. And then he had Brandon Tatum on the podcast over the weekend, I believe. And some very interesting tidbits came out of this podcast. And I think Stephen A. is really trying to hold on to this idea that he is a fiscal conservative and a socially liberal. Listen, there's nothing wrong. Actually, being socially liberal is not a problem, or libertarian. That's not a problem. I don't see a problem with that. It's the extreme, like the leftist stuff. When you start going to the place that the killer went to, when you start going there is where it becomes problematic. But I don't think Stephen A. is that. I think Stephen A. is just trying to keep everybody happy. And I think Stephen A. likes to play that middleman. He likes to sort of massage everybody, if you will. Anyway, so we're not gonna play this whole clip, but we're gonna unpack parts of the clip where Brandon Tatum questions him on celebrity responses to Charlie Kirk's assassination.
You are around a lot of celebrities. I mean, you're very popular. You're in the know. Everybody knows who Stephen A. Smith is. Are you getting the same sentiment from people that in the private side of it?
No,
people that's not public. Are they feeling like you? Are they?
And that's a problem that I have. They're not feeling like that at all. So many people, try to come and whisper in my ear about some of the things that he may have said that tilts away from whatever they believe my ideological beliefs are. And I told him flat, I don't want to hear it. It has nothing to do with that. It's cold-blooded murder. That's what happened to him. And that usurps everything. When you start talking as if somebody's position, their verbiage, their ideological tilt is somehow justification for such a vile, vicious act, I don't want to talk to you, because I'm not going to listen to that. And if I do talk to you, there's no right in that whatsoever. You can never sit back and think that cold-blooded murder is a justification. Not in a civilized society that we're looking at. This is not somebody that was in a war zone. You weren't in Afghanistan and, we're at war with them, or is Israel and Hamas and a murder has happened or whatever. No, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a man that was on a college campus sitting there talking to people and was gunned down in front of all of us. I mean, who hasn't seen that video right now? And I'll tell you something, and I'll share with you, man, because, my daughters, it really hit home with me when they spoke to me the other day. They said, Daddy, we'd rather be broke. We'd rather be broke knowing that you're safe and sound every day than, rich and worried about whether or not something like that could happen to you too. And
I mean, where's the lie? Where is the lie? We'd rather you come home safe from a 9 to 5, without the lifestyle and the privilege that comes with it, just to have you safe. His daughters is very, very, very sensible. Like, who the hell would take you out over an opinion or perspective that you choose to take out of context, that he literally had explained several times and clarified, and also the problem in this society is that we think that the most negative versions of ourselves is the true version of ourselves. And that's so stupid. That's so stupid. A lot of times you make those really bad decisions because you've had trauma and bad experiences in your life that are creating what the behavior you're participating in. And there are always going to be a select few of people who are broken themselves who want to keep you in that cycle because they themselves are broken and distraught and destroyed people. So yeah, it is what it is. This clip, very interesting. Stephen A. Smith sings the praises of Black conservatives and tries to, in his very journalist way, explain why he associates with Black conservatives.
People think I'm a conservative because I get along with Black conservatives. Nobody has ever asked me why, Officer Tatum, why I always get along with Black conservatives. It's because I believe y'all have been victimized for decades. Now I might have Democratic viewpoints. I might be somebody who, like, I consider myself fiscally conservative and socially liberal.
Oh gosh. But now B. Tatum should have followed up and said, how are you socially liberal? And then we could unpack those points as well, because I don't even know what he would say. What, abortion? I don't know. I don't know his stances on any of that stuff. But I think he's playing the dance here. He's doing the dance because he has to please everybody. He can't totally not have Roland Martin in his Rolodex. He has to keep Roland Martin in the Rolodex. So you can't do too much. So you can't piss off that faction of the Blacks.
But when you or anybody else come to me and you say, yo, Stephen A., what about this? What about this? Come on, man, there ain't no truth to that. Here's what really happened, etc. I'm listening because if you're coming to me with facts, why would I ignore that?
Sidebar. What's with the pimp shirt though? That shirt is, I mean, I get it. I experiment with patterns. Sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. But don't ever wear that shirt again, Stephen A. In terms, I just picture that episode of Martin where they had like the players ball and all the pimps was out. And anyway, keep going.
I'm not going to let my facts be usurped by emotion.
Facts. Exactly. Emotional decisions always render bad results, number one. Number two, if you are that emotionally entrenched in something, you're being distracted from something, right? Especially if you don't know the person. And anytime somebody does extreme on the emotional with very little substance, I'm automatically looking for what it is you don't want me to see. That's what Pastor Jamal Bryant did this weekend. And that's what another Black pastor whose name I don't know, I probably won't learn for tonight's show, did as well.
Because emotion is how the Democratic Party has gotten us to the place that they've gotten us, where they've confiscated, or they've had about 80+% of our vote since the mid 60s with Lyndon B. Johnson and civil rights legislation. At some point in time, I get to look at you and say, I understand what happened back then. I understand that those laws that you implemented and put into place facilitated us having more access to capital, et cetera, et cetera.
Without Republicans, and I have my gripes with the Civil Rights Act, but without Republicans, there is no Civil Rights Act. And that's, you want to talk about whitewashing history, revisionist history. Without Republicans, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, 5, whatever year it was, does not pass. Doesn't pass without Republicans. And we leave that off the table all the time.
But damn, I'm supposed to hold on to that 50, 60 years later and ignore what you did with the crime bill. Ignore what you're doing with education. Ignore what you're doing with the war on poverty. Ignore what you're doing with the economy and whether or not it's facilitating opportunities for Black people in this country.
Well, I mean, the brothers woke in the way woke's supposed to be used. And that's the way all of us should be able to approach these issues. I shouldn't be called any racial epithet by another black person because I approach the world from a different way. In fact, we're all of our voices are needed, even the crazy ones. Right. And you can't create a whole if you exclude any part of it. And I say this all the time too. But, keep feeling.
I'm supposed to ignore all of that because of what you did in the 60s. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
But they didn't even do it in the 60s. That's the bit. And then also when you look at LBJ, and we all know my favorite LBJ quote, I've read it several times. LBJ was not, the only reason why he did what he did was to shut y'all the hell up. That was it. This wasn't going to be life changing. Clearly it wasn't. Here we have a 60-year sample size. It wasn't life affirming. It didn't change your lives. It didn't make most of your lives better. You just had more government control. And then they figured out legally and constitutionally how to control black people in other ways. And y'all fell for the okie doke.
And I applaud people like yourself and others, even when I disagree with you, for doing the same. Because what you're saying is we ain't falling for the okie doke. Convince us. Show us we wrong.
That part. But they never will. Because they don't have to. They take your vote for granted. We already know this. Y'all know this. Everyone knows this. But y'all still 90+% rocking with one political party. The only group to do it in this country. The only one. But, I'm the problem. I'm the biggest threat to the black community.
And I respect that. I like that. And that's why I don't have a problem with conservatives the way a lot of black folks in America have a problem with, because I'm not going to look at the Democratic Party and let them convince me that y'all are the enemy just because your ideology is different than theirs. They care so much about us. They've got the grand plan for all of us, and you don't need to look no further. By doing that, you empower them and you disenfranchise yourself because they know they got your vote, so they don't have to work for it.
Boom. Boom. Back to one of the people who was working with Michelle Obama in Barack's re-election bid. They were looking at all the demographics on a chart, and they were like, yeah, we have to set up some for the black community. And she was like, oh, no, we don't have to do that. We already got their vote. Could you imagine being that arrogant and factual on top of that, but arrogant to think that I don't have to work for these people's vote because I automatically got it? I don't have to go. We don't have to put any money behind campaigning and reach and doing outreach and putting people on the ground. We don't have to do none of that for these people because we know we got their vote. But they do that to y'all every 2 and 4 years. Jasmine Crockett was never on the ground earning y'all vote. Now she out here making the rounds because she trying to fight for something. She trying to get something now. And now she got to work for it, and she pissed.
And the other side knows there's no way in hell they'll get your vote. So they don't do anything.
Well, it's not about doing things for. And also, where I'll correct Stephen A. Smith, when Republicans do show up, how are they treated? They got to have extra security. Y'all yelling and screaming. Y'all accusing them of stuff they never said or did, or that you took out of context, that you don't like, because they're not going to sit up here and hand you a check or hand you a scholarship or something. That's what y'all do. That's what y'all do. So now we have the people who take your vote for granted, and now you niggas feel entitled to something. You're not entitled to shit. Not entitled.
What you got to do is make sure you stand right in the middle and you say, convince me.
Boom. And that's what you need to Jasmine Crockett, just like you would do to Byron Donalds, you would do to Wesley Hunt, any of these other black Republicans. You would literally have them sit in a room and they would have to sit there and lay it all out for you. Jasmine Crockett could stand there, shake her wig, say a whole bunch of stupid catchphrases, and she got y'all vote. Interesting, isn't it?
Sell me. I want to see what you got to say and keep an open mind. To me, that's the way to go. People.
Oh. Facts. He spoke no lies. I think this man is a closet conservative. You ain't going to convince me otherwise. Yeah, I believe Stephen A is an opportunist. He plays all sides, depending on where he is and what he's doing. It's easy. Saying you're a fiscal conservative is easy. You don't have to really answer for that because, of course, it's fiscal conservatism. It's the easiest type of conservatism. And no black person gonna be like, oh, I don't know about that. No, they're gonna be like, oh, okay, we can get with that. As long as he's gonna sit up here and want us, to do all this other radical stuff, we're with it. But no, Stephen A. I think you need to come on over to the dark side. And after he said, he has some very interesting words for Gavin Newsom as well.
I'm not down with Gavin Newsom because my issue with Gavin Newsom is like, listen, you look great in those blue suits. You're very articulate, very smart, very quick with it. I love how you've been trolling Trump because I thought that was necessary, in order to compete with Trump. But I can't ignore the fact that you're number one in unemployment, number one in homelessness and poverty and all of this other stuff and the price of the affordability issues in California. I can't ignore all of that. I can't ignore the fact that there's no way I can see you winning an election with some of the things that have been happening in the state of California.
Facts. I mean, with that record, how are you ever going to explain that to people? How on a national scale that I did such a horrible job with one of the largest economies in this country, but trust me with everything. Trust me with the keys to the kingdom after I messed up. Jesus. Oh, Lord. I'm a fiscal conservative and a liberal sexual maniac. Listen, liking sex isn't a liberal thing. Everyone likes sex. But understand, taking the guardrails off things produces great consequences, right? So having some self-control or whatever, nobody's saying you got to get married. You don't have to. You're not obligated to get married to be a conservative. You're not obligated. But this whole notion that you can free means do whatever you want, however you want, and there are no consequences, bro. You can put some guardrails up. It's okay. Limitations are good. Self-control is good. But back to Gavin Newsom. What a disaster of a governor. You literally have led California into the shitter. You mismanaged that fire. You and that DEI mayor mismanaged that entire situation. Your wife was literally out shopping on Rodeo Drive as people were wondering if their damn wives, if their damn houses were intact. You're a Nepo baby. So it wasn't like, oh, you just strolled into politics. Like, no, this is the family business. It's politics. So you're going to have to explain that as well. So yeah, the suits are sharp. You look great. Everything's amazing. But what you did was an absolute disaster. And any idiot in the United States of America who would throw their weight behind you being president, very questionable. Very questionable. Because I don't see how that's even possible. Don't forget, Gavin had an affair with his best friend's wife. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was a thing. If that's true, I don't know if that's true, but look. Gavin Newsom is a hard no. I don't even think there isn't one Democrat for 2028 that I could think of I would even remotely entertain at this point. There isn't one of them. The only one I would have, if she was still a Democrat, would be Tulsi Gabbard. And I think based on that speech last night, Tulsi Gabbard's about to do some really major things in the Republican Party, and I'm excited for her future. I don't know if I'd vote for her to be president, but I think she has a great future in politics and Republican politics. But We're good. We're good. I would love to move back to California. I would love to. I would love to. I would absolutely love it. Every day I think about it. Oh man, California. I miss California. I miss not just the weather, but just the whole vibe. The vibe was right, everything. And then I just realized it was just New York 2.0. And I'm working 7 days a week to cover the basics. And I'm not building a life. So I'm back on the hamster wheel. And I don't want to do that. And I'm good. I'm tired. I ain't got it in me anymore. And so it is what it is. I'm not saying moving to Texas was a mistake, but whatever. It is what it is. Anyway, make sure y'all tune in tonight to the RANT Experience. That's my other podcast. That's a weekly podcast. That's tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Appreciate it. And if you would like to support the channel, you can head on over to our merch store. That's ajsrantroom.com. That's ajsrantroom.com. You can get this hat. It's called, if you can't see it, it says Make the Hood Great Again. We got political stuff. We have non-political stuff. We have inspirational stuff. We have simple stuff like gym bags and duffel bags that don't have anything to do with politics, and a whole bunch of other things. So go over there, check it out. I put a lot of hours into that store, so just go check it out and support if you can. Appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. I will catch y'all tonight for the RANT Experience, 8 p.m. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Peace.